Greetings from the Crypto Swiss channel. This is James. I'm still unable to move on from this. While the rest of the world is burning, XRP is trading at $2.15. Indeed, cryptocurrency has been performing reasonably well overall. Yesterday was a green day. Right now, we're neutral or slightly red, depending on whatever coin you're looking at. Some are slightly higher than others, but take a look at this. Tired of fake gurus who claim to be expert traders but never trade live? I trade live on the second largest crypto exchange, where everything is transparent and results can't be faked. For over 440 days, I've consistently closed every month in profit. In the last 90 days alone, my followers have earned over $34,000 in profits with only 4% drawdown. Verified results, not empty claims. Want to see my verified stats? Click the first link in my profile and start copying my trades for free today. XRP is therefore $2.15. Anywhere in this range, it's evident that worldwide speculators concur that this price range makes sense. We have been dreaming about this for years, and the cycle continues. The last parabolic blow off top, which I continue to believe is imminent, has not yet occurred. I'll demonstrate it for you in this video. For the first time in more than 7 years, many XRP chart analysts continue to predict that the price of XRP will reach a new all-time high soon. This indicates that values like $4, $5, and $6 will be seen shortly. Although that doesn't imply that we will be reaching our top, many analysts, I'm referring to analysts who correctly predicted that XRP will break to the upside, assure us that it would happen sooner rather than later. And if that does happen, I won't be shocked. And even if the financial markets are on fire and strange things are happening, I'll give you some more reasons to be hopeful. The Trump tariff crisis is what started all of this. This won't last forever. It will most likely be a flash in the pan, but I'm not positive. This will be resolved, albeit I may have to retract my statement. Before we continue though, I have no experience in finance. I'm not giving you financial advice, and you should never buy or sell anything based on what I say, okay? I'm a hobbyist who likes to create YouTube videos about crypto-related subjects for enjoyment. It is 8:16 p.m. when I record this video. Saturday, April 5th, 2025 Central Time. Once more, the XRP is $2.15. The price of Bitcoin is $83,538, thus not much has changed in the past day. Again though, this is astounding, given how everything else in the financial industry is collapsing. It is genuinely, truly amazing. This post was shared with their 206,000 followers on social media platform X by Santiment, an on-chain analytics company. They noted that, based on data from X, Reddit, Telegram, 4chan, Farcaster, and Bitcoin Talk, social media was ablaze with discussions about cryptocurrencies divorcing from stock markets just a few hours ago. And I recently did a video on this. And so, when I see it, I'll believe it. This data point is unique. I must envision this going well into the future. And, for a while at least, cryptocurrency is proving resilient versus the stock market during turbulent times in other markets. The other day, even gold was down. I'll reply, okay, well, that's fascinating, if that's the case. Something like this has never been witnessed before in history, and firsts do occur occasionally. But is it true that, like stocks, cryptocurrencies will never again be viewed as an asset that carries risk? When I see it, I'll believe it. Now, it makes conceptual sense that Bitcoin, XRP, and cryptocurrency are handled differently due to their decentralized character and are viewed as a hedge against turbulent times. It may make sense to some of you, but it doesn't matter if it makes sense to me. The factual statement is that it hasn't acted in that manner. It has acted in a direction similar to that of stocks. People run to gold, for instance, and sell equities and cryptocurrency when things get scary. Once more, I'll believe it when I see it, but it's still an interesting subject to discuss. Additionally, we might progress to a stage where that makes sense. And even if this isn't that particular point in time, people still see it that way. In any case, sentiment goes on. Traders are hopeful that Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are somewhat immune to the US and China tariffs that have shaken the world economy, especially after the S&P 500s had losses of 10.5% on Thursday and Friday alone. This is a positive indication that the cryptocurrency markets are growing and are less and less dependent on the stock market. In the past, most of the largest bull cycles in Bitcoin have occurred when there is no correlation between the two sectors, neither positive nor negative. Well, everybody, let's find out together. Once more, I'm not convinced by this idea. Therefore, even if this turns out to be the case for a while, even if it's only a few months, That's all right. However, it is more likely that we will move past this tariff folly. Trump is mainly using it as a negotiation strategy. Additionally, the stock market will recover. These sell-offs are usually buying opportunities, brief, followed by market recovery. Therefore, IC cannot determine with certainty whether we are at the bottom. Things may go worse before they get better. It is pretty feasible. Regardless, I wouldn't be shocked if we look back in a year, 2 or 3 years and realize, wow, that would have been a good buying opportunity. This is identical to what occurred with the COVID-19 crash in March 2020. When the markets crashed, it was a perfect opportunity to purchase. Take a look at the chart again. It would have been fantastic. I exploited it. This is a post by Stock Money Lizards, a chart analyst. He told his 155,900 X followers about this. I usually write about Bitcoin, but I have to say that it's probably a very reasonable thing to average down on the S&P 500 right now, especially in the long run, he says. Oversold every day, oversold every week. The American economy is robust, which is consistent with my message. Additionally, we are discussing asset risk in light of the stock market. Crypto is no different. I still insist because I need more evidence to change my mind. All of these pose a risk to assets. Therefore, the correlation will continue to be seen. We'll see when it starts up again. And that's good. I'll be pleased to see par for the course in the short term. Since it has been tried and tested, I would be content to maintain the status quo in that regard. Then we know what to anticipate. Therefore, if the market is simply oversold at the moment, the S&P 500 in particular, and you can see that it is about to recover, you are aware of how tense up the crypto asset class is, aren't you? This is going to blow out. There are a ton of metrics from other charts that show that this thing is going to take off if history is to be believed. Therefore, it makes sense if the stock market is oversold at this time and reverses. It's called confluence. That would be very logical. Furthermore, the American economy is not just going to collapse. This is happening because people are afraid due to market uncertainty. There won't always be certainty in the market. Regardless, as long as the new normal takes hold and people adjust, money will continue to flow, even if it's not the best. This is because liquidity will rise. Folks, that's just the way it is. Therefore, selling here out of fear is a wager on the long-term sustainability of the US capital market, the biggest in the world. It simply isn't logical at all. Control your emotions. Charlie Bolello made this post. He is Creative Planning's leading market strategist. He claims that the last 2 trading days saw a 10.5% drop in the S&P 500, the 5th largest 2-day decrease since 1950. What has happened after the most significant 2-day falls in the past? Stocks were consistently much higher over the following 1, 3, and 5 years. Alright, in light of the recent awful 2 days, if history is to repeat itself, stocks will have increased in a year. Additionally, I wouldn't be shocked if cryptocurrency rose in value if stocks did. Or, at the very least, if not higher, I won't be shocked if, at least in the interim, we have that last blow off the top before moving into bear market territory in just a year. One of the 2 items. However, history tends to rhyme with itself. Being afraid here doesn't make sense. This is an article that Mario Nawfal shared with his 2.1 million followers. Additionally, there was a video clip of Warren Buffett being interviewed on CNBC by a woman named Becky Quick. According to Warren Buffett, some people shouldn't even hold stocks. I could relate to this. Warren Buffett said the following: because they become excessively agitated by market swings, some people should avoid holding stocks. In conclusion, you shouldn't hold any stocks at all if you're going to make foolish decisions because they're declining. All right, that is unquestionably true. Investing in stocks over decades is the best way to build money. That's good then. However, you should not do so, since you will only destroy yourself if you are unable to control your emotions and are such a retail lemming. It's going to become worse for you. You will not succeed in building wealth if you are not investing. However, since this is how most people get wealthy, you will never be successful if you cannot resolve this emotionally at some point. It has nothing to do with creating a brand new good or service. It comes from making steady investments over an extended period and then simply taking advantage of compound interest, the world's 8th wonder. That's what it is. After seeing this footage, I read this and thought, yep, that's absolutely true. Some people might as well not do anything if they are incapable of doing it, and their situation will worsen. However, they simply need to learn how to do it. As he stated, if you're going to do dumb things because the stock goes down, well, imagine that's crypto instead. This is true for everyone involved in the cryptocurrency space. In that case, you should not own any shares. Yes. Then, Since cryptocurrency is so much more volatile, you should not hold any of it. Most people aren't into cryptocurrency. When it comes to investing, I'm telling folks that if they can't figure this stuff out, they won't gain wealth that will change their lives. We all have the chance now. This is a real opportunity. The potential to become highly wealthy with cryptocurrency. Indeed, it is genuine. However, people are unable to perform some simple tasks. Getting cryptocurrencies like XRP makes sense. It's just diversifying the crypto asset class. After that, you hold for a while. As a result, the price increases and decreases. And be aware that you may become afraid when the price does drop. That does not, however, imply that the sky is falling and will never stop. Unless some fundamentals change, it doesn't mean that the market won't ever reach a bottom and then rise again. You might be worried about fundamental changes, like a flaw in the XRP ledger's code or something similar. After that, I don't think it will occur. I'm merely stating that if something insane like that happens, it might be wise to leave things alone. But outside of that kind of thing, no. Have a look at the basics. The utility continues growing. You are aware of the situation, but if you're in cryptocurrency, it's even worse because it's constantly much more volatile. The markets are also open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. My buddies will lose everything if they try to time the market or believe I should sell since it will only continue declining. I can then decrease and buy back though. Alright, good luck in the marketplace. The data does not support that. Chart analyst Mustache wrote this post. This is the total market value of all cryptocurrencies, excluding Bitcoin. Alright, I think this is huge, it says. The weekly EMA 50 has previously determined whether the cryptocurrency market is bull or bear. Now what do we have? The weekly trend line of the EMA 50 Plus was reached. Both have been really strong support over the last 1.5 years. Assuming that this is a fair trend line, I will simply state this. My friends, markets find bottoms. Markets discover bottoms. Unless we are so oblivious, we fail to see that all of this is genuinely headed to zero. However, I don't think that for a moment. Therefore, markets find bottoms if everything isn't going to zero for reasons. Furthermore, we are unable to confirm our presence. However, that is the reason I continue to insist on the finest approach to investing. And you all do as you please. However, I simply believe that having widespread exposure and holding on to it for however long it takes makes sense. And then, since none of us can be sure, if it drops below what you believed was likely, that's life. I mean, I've experienced that. Have you not experienced that? That's the way it is. No one is certain. I'm not sure. You're not sure. No one is aware. The quote-unquote gurus, even the greatest of the best, no one is certain. The simplest method is, therefore, the most effective. This is the post by Mikey Bull Crypto, a chart analyst. The Ethereum USD chart is shown here. History indicates that purchasing Ethereum at this 2-year moving average buy signal will yield the highest returns in the upcoming months, he believes. Take a peek at this chart spanning over 10 years. Markets find bottoms once more. I said the same thing about XRP in 2024 because of its extremely low pricing. Although it was undervalued about the dollar, it has increased since June 2022. However, if you look at the XRP BTC pair in particular, I would always say, I know it's in the gutter, and the toxic Bitcoin maximals are having fun laughing at us. But we're going to get the last laugh, because this is what XRP looks like when it's bottoming. We can demonstrate that this has always been the case using data spanning more than 10 years. Unbelievably, we experienced another one of those times and took off in November. However, I don't believe it's finished either. Over the past 2 cycles, XRP has had 2 significant upswings, separated by roughly 6 months. We had our first one in November during this cycle. Therefore, if history is to be believed, XRP will rise sooner rather than later. If history is to rhyme, that's not a given. I believe there are many reasons to be hopeful in this situation. This is a post from Rect Capital, a chart analyst. When he shared it, he had 543,000 followers. This is the Bitcoin dominance percentage chart by market capitalization. He added that the monthly relative strength indicator for Bitcoin domination has never been this high. Take a look at this bad boy. Right now, the Bitcoin dominance RSI is at its highest level ever. Do you remember how I was discussing how markets found bottoms only a moment ago? Markets, however, also discover tops. And once more, this specific indicator is only for Bitcoin domination. Bitcoin's dominance is most likely at or very close to its top, which is fantastic, because even if it were to decline, the price of Bitcoin might still grow. It absolutely can, and I have a feeling it will. Additionally, it indicates that altcoins are gaining traction even more quickly. It takes less money to get altcoin prices to double, triple, quadruple, and so on, because they have less money. As a result, you will witness a decline in Bitcoin's dominance and an increase in the market share of altcoins, including XRP, as their market caps rise even though there isn't much money coming in. This is a post by Crypto Wizard, a chart analyst. This is a chart of XRP and BTC, a lovely fake out, he says. One to observe. The triangle created by XRP and BTC was symmetrical. There has been a fake out, but the market is even more optimistic now. It pays to be patient. And right here, you can see what he's talking about. It states that a fake out attempt followed by a reversal is encouraging. Yes, I do believe that we are still using Bitcoin as our bitch. We're not done with it, in my opinion. I would remark that they will be too embarrassed to reveal their identities by the end of this cycle like the Bitcoin maxis. No, they won't. They're not ashamed. Bitcoin maxi trolls are poisonous. They will continue to flaunt their foolish little facials, but they will be angry that they were mistaken. Additionally, there will be a ton of CI told each other. This is a post by Javon Marks, a chart analyst. After a while, they forget what you can do, he says. In divine timing, they will be reminded in more extravagant ways than ever before. That's really profound, I see. There, it's getting deep. But have a look at this in the next section. In addition, he argues that since XRP confirms the lower period, both signals return over $2.47, which might mean that $4.80 or above will once again be relevant. Just so you know, I'm seeing many analysts discuss these kinds of price levels, $4, $5, or $6 in the short term, to encourage the party to keep going. We're not discussing peaks here. We're talking about the next burst, leading to some quite entertaining pricing points. Chart analyst Dark Defender has this post. I don't have to finish reading it. He is still predicting that XRP will be moving toward $3 shortly, and may even move swiftly to $5.85 after that. He then listed a few short-term goals and several vital sources of support he had in mind. Here, however, nothing has changed. At this time, the majority of you understand it, but when you consider that the rest of the globe is burning, you can see how resilient XRP is. Indeed, despite all of this, cryptocurrency is demonstrating resilience. However, XRP is outperforming the market in particular. In the cryptocurrency world, XRP is toward the top of the heap. You have to take note of that. It is quite clear. This is a post by Greg Crypto, a chart analyst. He analyzes things in the short term. First, the 21 EMA, the first indication of strength, closed over $2.24. The second indication of strength, the strength of Fib 0.382, is closing above $2.30. The final indication of strength, Fib 0.5, is closing over $2.30, $2.47. The greatest indication for a possible breakout and new all-time high is number 4, closing over $2.70, a yellow trend line in Fib 0.618. Fifth, the $5 range, or FIB 1.618, is a possible goal. Therefore, once more, this is not a peak prediction. Here, we are discussing the relatively short term. Therefore, I've highlighted these viewpoints from various chart analysts only to let you know that they were all correct when they predicted that XRP would break higher this cycle and beat out Bitcoin and Ethereum, which is what has happened thus far. They insist that the best is yet to come. It's still coming, yes. The events of the past few months don't faze them. This is a post by Steph, a chart analyst in cryptocurrency. By May, he predicts XRP will reach $6. Well, perhaps that might be the case. When analysts forecast prices, especially precise ones based on time, I don't like it. The fact that there are no analysts in the world who can reliably forecast pricing makes me a little anxious for him. That is merely a factual statement. As a result, they might have suspicions, and in some cases, they might be correct. However, for this reason, I often say that the best thing a chart analyst can do is just state, hey, if history rhymes, here's what's happened in the past. Therefore, this is how history and the moment would appear if they rhyme. Basically, if history rhymed with itself, these are the price points. I can understand that. However, it's a different matter entirely when you state unequivocally that XRP will reach $6 by May. However, considering where we are in the cycle, it might very well occur. For a while, it might occur earlier. I'm not sure. I'm not sure whether it will or won't occur. The good news is that, at this point in the cycle, the likelihood that this is true is significantly higher than it has ever been. Who knows then? It might happen. Again, I simply become anxious about any analyst who is going to make a really specific price action. It's just not the best idea, in my opinion. That's what I think. This is a post by Dom, a chart analyst. Update the XRP order book. With a big purchase wall at $2.11 and a big sell wall at $2.20, Binance is pursuing the price. For now, keep the price locked. Additionally, Coinbase restocked their walls at about $2, and this week, more than 10 million XRP were purchased. There is still a lot of support down there, which is encouraging for the time being. Otherwise, the only goal here is to recover $2.20. That's a brief analysis of the situation. His viewpoint hasn't altered. Although he hasn't officially stated anything, he thinks XRP will rise significantly this cycle. This is a post by Tony, a chart analyst. He told his 517,200 followers on X that the XRP USD is currently holding $2, therefore I'm still long. He's been posting about this often, but that's all he's been saying lately. I only wanted to draw attention to the fact that his conviction still stands. Since he essentially posts the same thing repeatedly, which is not a critique, that is the only lesson to be learned at this time. There is nothing wrong with informing your audience that I still hold this belief. In order to reiterate, it has been based on the analyst's conviction, expecting much more. I can't wait to see what the upcoming months bring. I've experienced far too many scary situations. No matter how long it takes, they disappear. Then they will disappear. The two most recent and significant ones are COVID and FTX. It's going to disappear too. To be honest, it isn't as frightening for those in the cryptocurrency industry, but it still exists. I want this settled so that individuals feel more comfortable making riskier asset investments. Cryptocurrencies, like XRP, continue to pose a risk to assets. What anyone says doesn't matter to me. They remain so. Although it's good to see that cryptocurrency hasn't crashed anymore, I believe that once this is sorted, people will be much more inclined to invest more money in it. Just prepare if it is settled sooner rather than later. Once more, I have a strong suspicion that Trump is using this as a negotiation tool. We'll see how he handles these tariff-related things. I'll simply buckle up, everybody, if that's the case, and everything goes smoothly. The market won't remain this low for long. It simply isn't. The situation will improve. I do not provide financial advice. Please refrain from purchasing or selling anything as a result of my words. That is a really, really awful idea.